Thank you ever so much for the introduction. Thank you for the invitation. So I'm going to be talking about a project which we've been running for a year and will be running for a year longer, exploring a new way of thinking about supporting recorders in making records. So all about recording nature where it matters. We know that biodiversity data from volunteers like you and like me is really valuable. It's really valuable for assessing the state of nature. We can look at trends. We can think about how what the impacts of policy are, the impacts of management, things like that. All of that is really important. We also know that recording nature is really important for ourselves. For those of us who appreciate it and engage with this, we realise the benefits that we get in terms of our well-being. And I did a study last year, large-scale experimental study. We'll see if they come back or not. I'll have a go. Okay, brilliant. So yeah, so we know this benefit of us engaging with nature and the well-being benefits that brings. And we did a large-scale study last year, which for the first time demonstrated that in terms of getting involved in citizen science and recording nature and the well-being benefits there were. When we think about recording biodiversity, we'll often think in terms of this sort of arrangement from the structured surveys, things like UK Butterfly Monitoring Scheme, where you go back to a site following a protocol, in that case, week after week and then year after year. And then we've got the unstructured recording, the sorts of things where you can record what you want, when you want. Apps, all sorts of tools like that are great for that sort of thing. In between, you've got things like the big butterfly count, which are an example where you've got a protocol, in that case, record all the butterflies you see for 15 or 20 minutes. You can take part wherever you want, all of which is great, and it does provide brilliant data. But the question is does where we take part in that nature recording, does that match with where records are needed most? Because the thing is that we know that unstructured recording is increasing. There are some figures here which simply demonstrate the engagement with the iRecord platform. I'm aware that there are a whole load of other platforms as well. You can see that the growth in the use of iRecords, which will be partly driven by new recorders getting involved, has increased dramatically over the past 5 years or so. And we also see that spatial or recording is spatially uneven. We see that at a national scale. We get far fewer records in Scotland than we do in the southeast. And we also see that locally. So this is an example of iRecord butterfly records from near Amersham. And you can see that some bits of Amersham and Chesham are relatively well recorded, and there are other bits where there is still, even at this scale, massive gaps in records. So the issue is that all these biodiversity records that we submit via whatever platform are valuable, but we don't simply need more and more and more records. I think if we think intelligently about it, what we need is more informative records. So how do you define what more informative is? And how do we choose, as recorders, how do we choose where to record? And this is where the Decide projects come in. So we recognized that all of this was an issue. We set up this Decide tool, and I'm going to explain all of this in a little bit more detail. But we've created a tool for recorders to try and think about this thing about recording in the places where data is most needed. Acknowledging all the people who've helped make this happen. It's funded by a research council in the UK. And we've got a really interesting multidisciplinary team, including Ben, who introduced me, but looking at ecology and data science, social science, data communication and data visualization, and computer science within that. All and across many of these organisations were involved in different aspects of engagement as well, and you can see the partners involved with 2 primary locations where we're exploring this: London through Giggle and North and East Yorkshire as well, but it's actually right across Great Britain. So remember I said that I felt that we needed not just more records, but more informative records. The thing is that the raw data and dot maps are great. We've seen brilliant examples through the morning of where raw data has been vital. So I'm not knocking that at all. It's brilliant for well-recorded sites, as we heard from Warren Farm and other examples earlier. And it's great for proving presence, but it's not complete. We've got gaps. That map up there shows the smooth newt. Can't see the heading there. It's the smooth newt. It's data from Giggle. And in the places where we haven't got records, simply means that we don't know whether they're there or not. And it's also the challenge is that these records are often not at sufficiently fine scales, or at least the information is not at fine scale. If you take any single 1 kilometre square, such as the squares in the bottom right, there's actually a lot going on within a 1 kilometre square. We just heard that ancient woodland sites can be as small as 1/4 of a hectare, which is tiny. And so this is a real challenge. So when you talk to decision makers, as we're doing across this project, these sorts of people often, in addition to the raw records, need information that's comprehensive and finer scale. So covering all the 25 million hectares, for instance, in the UK, hectares 100 by 100 metres square. 25 million would be a lot of recording for us to do to try and get records from all of those 25 million hectares. And all of this is important when we think at the more strategic or regional scale for natural capital assessments or spatial planning strategies, or for screening planning applications for environmental impact assessments and things like this. All of that's important. So the solution that we're proposing within Decide is to use the modelled outputs. And then the question is, how can recorders contribute best to getting those modelled outputs? So when we think about modelling distributions, what we do is we take a whole bunch of variables, climate, habitat, we'll take a whole load of Earth observation data from satellites, which are updated frequently and come up really, really high spatial resolution. We combine that with the existing records we've got for each species of interest, and we can come up with predicted distribution maps. This species distribution modelling, as it's been called, has been going on for a long time, but doing it at such fine scale with so many species actually requires quite a lot of computational power, and to do it in this high throughput way is computationally intensive to try and do it really well. We've still got a way to go to explore this further. But what we do is that one of the key outputs is we get the predicted distribution, but we also get the uncertainty. There are places where we just know that we're not that confident. That means that those would be places where it'd be brilliant to get records. And so what we've done within Decide is that we've ended up stacking a lot of these different species distributions. So we're not simply looking at the uncertainty for one species, we're looking at uncertainty for a wide range of different species. Lots of different ways in which that can be aggregated together. We've made a decision. We can then effectively mask that first map by looking at where records have currently been made. So this idea of the recency of records, taking into account that if people have made records there recently, we probably don't need to send people back to those very same places. What we end up with is that aggregate, and we can identify the places where it's going to be most fruitful to send people to go recording. All of this process has been done through co-design with recorders at different stages. We've undertaken interviews with representative different recorders. We've got people involved in focus groups, and we're constantly asking for feedback. And all of this then is informing our design and our priorities, both in terms of how user-friendly it is, but also its purpose. In this first year, we've been focusing on butterflies and day-flying moths. There's a lot of activity around the butterflies, as we've been hearing this morning. So all of that has led to the development of the current version of the Decide tool. And so the idea is that you can use this to get a look at a 5-kilometre radius circle around a point of interest. And you can discover the places there where there's the highest priority for recording based on all that we've talked about. We don't expect everybody to use this, and we don't expect all recorders to use this all the time. You will be recording in your garden or in your local nature reserve because of the joy it gives you, or because those are places that you really like going. But maybe, hopefully, some of you will be keen on spending some of your time exploring some of the new sites that this place might reveal. Some of those might be not great for biodiversity, but we'll have some information about them. Some of them might be superb sites that nobody really knew about. So the colours there show the recording priorities, and we're playing around with this idea of actually being more specific about the nudging, the suggestions that we can provide. So you've got pins there, and if you click on the pins, you can get a bit of automatically generated text telling you why that pin is accessible, what sorts of features it's near, and different things like this. And so then what would be the ask? The ask would be that you use this tool, if you'd like to, and explore and identify places that you would like to go. And then you record at that selected location using your usual tools. This is to support recorders, it's not a tool for doing recording. So coming from the Centre for Ecology and Hydrology, I would definitely promote iRecord. And they've got a handy app, and in fact, a very nice one currently for butterflies as well. We're partnering with the Open University, who run iSpot, and of course, there are a range of other tools, including going through your local environmental record centres that you can use. The aim, obviously, is to share data across all of these platforms. The other thing that's really, really, really valuable is to record all the species that you see on a visit. Don't just record the notable ones, if you can identify them. Record all the species that you see. Of course, that's not all the species on the site, but with the statistics that we can use and working with statisticians, we can cope with that, and that's fine. What is a trouble is if people always record just the special species and ignore all the common ones, for instance. I said that there's this purpose of what we're doing to think about the way in which the information's used. And so we're currently, over the winter, going to be developing a tool for decision makers that provides this comprehensive and fine-scale information. So we're really interested in engaging with a lot of different users of biodiversity information who might be interested. And this is not, as I said about the site records are absolutely essential, and there are already existing ways of accessing those records, obviously in London through Giggle and others. But this is more about that slightly larger scale, the more regional scale, where it might be that you're a major landowner owning land parcels right across a region, and you want to see how your land parcels compare to the overall, for instance, going through that similar process of co-design. So how can you help? We'd love you to have a look at the Decide tool, try it out, see what you think, and tell us. Tell us what you like, that's always good, and tell us what you think could be improved, or what the challenges are, or what you would desire. And we will take that all into consideration. Look for the gold buttons, which are put across the site, so you'll always be able to find that. The other thing is join our mailing lists. You can find out information as the project develops. And if you join the co-design mailing list, then you'll be part of the community who we specifically reach out to when asking questions to influence our design and our decisions. I said that we've got a couple of years on this project, although we hope it's going to run for many, many more years and actually become important in the way that recorders do recording in the future. Future plans, though, we're going to be looking at nocturnal moths, so coming up with those distributions for nocturnal moths. But also, this is a bit fun, some of you might be familiar with the LED bucket traps, which can be used. They're really low cost, so that actually it's not such a big deal if they get pinched, unlike your nice moth trap, which you might keep at home. So these could be used in a wide range of different places where we don't normally go moth trapping. How do we choose where to go moth trapping in that case? I'd say use the decital. And I think this could be a real exciting opportunity for feedback. We're going to be giving out a fair number of them for free to people who are interested in taking this on via Giggle and the guys up in North and East Yorkshire. We're also going to be looking at how we can produce faster and better feedback, doing this degree of automation, and how we can use artificial intelligence and things like this to give feedback that is more relevant, more accessible, more actionable, and more appealing to you as recorders, that really inspires you and me to go out and do more recording. For me, all of this is within a vision of the different ways in which we can do the recording, the volunteer engagement, and the citizen science, and achieve some of these big aims, which ultimately comes back to it being for the benefit of people and for the benefit of nature, and the two intertwined. So thank you very much.